if what you say is we're on a long, slow decline and increased wage gap, so far that's what it looks like.
Yes.
And we know that there's a point in society where that gets too dramatic, and you could argue 80 guys owning as much wealth as half the world. We're at that stage.
And if that's not dramatic enough, wait for the next 5 years.
At some point, that society, the masses will fight that and break that system.
At some point, people are going to start sharpening up the guillotines.
Leave your closed mind at the door. It's time for Carl and Mike.
Welcome, Carl and Mike.
We're
Episode
back.
20.
Yes.
20. Big
Yeah.
20s. We're into a new decade.
Oh, it is.
New. What do they call that? Every groups of 10. Is it not decade, but that'd be a time thing.
Every 10?
Yeah. Thanks.
We're working the metric now. We're doing metric.
I never did metrics. Did you learn metric? I got
No,
nothing.
I really didn't. I get more. I use it more now than I ever did. You know, they wouldn't teach it to us in school. They probably still don't teach it. I mean, everything is still.
You know, I was
inches
the
and
feet. Multiplication king in 4th grade.
What does that mean exactly?
It means
did
I
you get a little paper
I did
crown?
the multiplication tables better than anybody else. Or
No
3rd
shit.
grade, yeah. And then you know what happened? 6th grade, football coach taught math for the next 2 years. We did nothing.
Really?
Yeah. So I had a gap, and that was all during the fractions.
A football coach teaching math? I
Yeah.
thought they just taught history.
No, they taught math in this one. Didn't go well.
Were they too busy doing scribbling
We
plays
really
and
literally
stuff like
did
that?
nothing in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't learn anything about fractions. So it screwed me up in math for the rest of my life.
I have to say that some of the worst teachers I had in high school and junior high, outside of for any class that they taught, were coaches. I mean, that's horrible to say, but they're just,
Right.
You know, that's their heart for the most part's not in it. They want to be a coach,
Right.
but they've got to do the other thing to make the money.
Yeah.
You know, I guess coaching. I don't know how they're paid. I don't know if the coaching aspect of it is just kind of a tack on, and they make a little more money for being a coach, but they really have got to find something else to do.
I don't know. I was in a parochial school. That's Catholic school.
Did you get hit by nuns?
No, I got hit by guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had a biology teacher in high school.
And they were
Catholic high school.
priests?
No.
They weren't?
No. I can't believe they got away with some of this stuff. So I had this biology teacher walk around with a ruler. And he'd ask questions, and when he was calling on you, he'd call on you by hitting you with the ruler.
Yeah. You're kidding. In the back of the head or
across
something?
the back or whatever. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah,
It was
sadistic
unbelievable.
motherfucker.
He was a sadistic. He didn't hit the girls,
Yeah.
just the guys, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we all hated him. And there were a couple confrontations there. And then another guy, I remember an English teacher threw a book at me because I was talking to the girl in the back row.
Wow.
And this guy had a bevy of girls. He was, man,
Yeah.
looking back, I mean, he was more than flirtatious with the girls in the class. And I think he looked at the guys as competition. Seriously.
Really?
And I was in English, and I was
Well,
good.
And there may be in some
And I
of
was
that
good in
going on.
English,
What-
right? I mean,
yeah.
that was my writing. I was.
You know, you never did hear about that kind of stuff back
didn't.
when where the teachers were like diddling with the students, but you know that shit was going on.
Yeah, it isn't like this is a new phenomenon.
No, no.
Yeah, I agree. But we just hear about it now.
Yeah.
So I guess that's progress. And this teacher,
That-
now
that
that I
we're
think
hearing
about
about
it,
the diddling, yeah,
that teacher
yeah.
only was there 1 year and he was gone. So something could have happened. And he kept quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was, I remember that my second grade teacher, Miss Johnson, she wasn't married, and everybody loved her. First off, she was cute, so all the guys liked her, but
Right.
she just had a great personality, and
Right.
that was one of those classes that we really liked,
Right.
and because of the teacher.
Right.
You know, we
Teacher
got a
made a big
lot out of it,
difference.
you know.
Yeah.
And because she had an enthusiasm for it, because she was a young teacher, she hadn't
Right.
been doing it for very long. And there was another teacher that we all liked, and I can't remember her name. And this was in junior high, but it was the choir teacher.
Right.
And she was stunning. I mean, the guys would take choir.
Yes.
You know, you're always trying to get guys. They would take choir.
That
just to-
that good.
Oh, Yes.
Mrs.
She was-
Laird,
yeah,
sixth
and
grade
she
for me.
wound up getting a boyfriend, and this is what made it even better, or getting married. Her husband bought her a car to drive to school.
Right.
And this was in 68.
Right.
68, 67, something like that. You know what the car was?
What?
A Shelby Cobra GT. I'm talking about the original Cobra, 427.
This little hot
English
teacher.
racing green, tan leather interior convertible.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so to see her crawl in and out of that car, I mean, at that point, we didn't know whether it was the car or the teacher that we liked the most. Because, those cars like now are like just shitloads of money if you were to buy one, if you can find one.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she was good too. There were other teachers that I had, I guess, that were good. There was one in elementary school who was an English teacher, and she taught us how to read music. She said, "I'm going to teach every one of you how to read music. Whether
Right.
you use it or not, you will
Wow.
know how to read
That's
music."
great. So you know how to read music.
Yeah, FACE, the spaces and
right,
everything else, and half notes, quarter notes, and that kind of stuff. As far as being able to play, no, but I can read it. I suppose.
I had a nun, second grade, and she was obsessive about birds.
Yeah.
And we learned everything you could learn about birds. To this day, I can recognize and pick out birds and their names and all that stuff from that
Yeah.
second grade nun who was into birds.
But see,
I didn't have any interest in birds.
but see, and
stuck.
that was the thing that's interesting about that. Is here's a teacher who had a passion for something. It wasn't what she
Yes.
was teaching, but it was a passion, and that passion is infectious.
Yes.
And so what she was able to do is impart maybe not a love of bird, but a knowledge of birds
Through her
to
passion.
you through her passion,
Yes.
because she made it fun
Yeah.
and interesting. And so I think in that process, she's teaching you and teaching the students how to learn if they hook on to a passion about something,
Right.
or how it's easy to get it's easy to piggyback somebody else's passion through something that maybe you don't have any knowledge about.
Yeah.
I'm doing that in this Master Gardener class that I'm doing right now. I mean,
Yeah? She's got passion.
2 weeks ago, we had somebody that's a PhD that had a passion about water, groundwater, saving water, rainwater, harvesting, the whole ball of wax. And believe it or not, we all just sat there for a full day, just sucking in her knowledge, and it was awesome. This last weekend, it was bugs. It was a guy who had a PhD in entomology? Entomology, I think
Yeah.
it is. Bugs, study of bugs. And this guy was great, but he was real enthusiastic about it, and he made it. The passion makes it accessible. Knowledge, it makes the knowledge accessible,
That's good.
and that's
That's a thought leadership right there, Michael.
Is that thought leadership?
I'm going to say it's a thought leadership about bugs and water, but
It's
it's a
Carl,
much deeper.
Carl and Mike thought leadership, yes, and but and that's what these teachers are doing,
Yeah.
and of course I had the biggest one that I had was in college, a guy named
Right.
Frank Cheatham, who was a designer,
Right.
that just lit a fire under all of us. I mean, and it was great.
I think too, knowing your audience. I mean, I remember in 6th grade or 7th grade, we had a nun teach religion, so like we cared about religion like nothing. But it was, in Catholic school, you had religion class.
Yeah.
And she did almost the whole class that semester on Jesus Christ Superstar.
There you go, because
now-
they did come out and it was
Yeah.
on Broadway, and that was a big
Yeah.
deal. I remember
And-
buying.
and-
Do you have that album?
Do I have to tell the Jesus Christ Superstar album story?
Oh, do you have?
I
a
have
story?
shame around that, yes.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are
good.
you
Let's
ready?
have- yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I have to tell.
I somehow got a hook on you. Okay,
You did.
good.
you
Let's
did.
have it.
Well, it's a sad story, Michael.
It
It's
is?
and it's an ironic story.
Yeah.
It is it's about my life of crime.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you steal the album?
The one thing I ever shoplifted in my life was a Jesus
Was
Christ Superstar album.
God, that's great. Oh, that is awesome.
It was embarrassing.
Did
It was
you
a
have
double album. I was
And
poor.
this is when you were a
I had
practicing Catholic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you stumble into confession and go,
No, I got caught.
oh,
I got caught.
Sweet.
was with a friend. We went to the mall. You know, Mom took us to the mall. The friend was.
It's not easy to steal an album. You know, they're big and fat.
Yeah,
And
well-
what do? Try and put it under your coat?
I don't even recall. I just remember, you know, partially being. I'm not going to blame the friend but
Yeah.
you know, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, Jesus Christ Superstar was a double album, so it was
Yeah,
like
it was a double album.
$9.79 or
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking, but there's because of the
Stereo or
damn
mono?
teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I've been hooked on Jesus Christ Superstar in this class.
Yeah.
It was summer now,
Wow. That's a
and
good
oh
one.
God, then they had to, you know, call my mom.
Oh.
was at
To
work.
come down. Oh.
No,
Carl,
they just called. They
You
just called.
disappointed me.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
God.
We had that.
She was further down the pike on guilt than
Well,
you
your
were.
father. She was more concerned about how to tell my father.
Oh, wait till your father gets home. God.
Yeah, one of that kind of thing. And then of course, the worst part was the mother of the friend who drove us there. You know, had to get called, and of course now
Oh.
I'm the bad influence on her on her
Oh.
wonderful
This
son.
just gets better and
It
better.
was a dark day.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it, Michael.
Yeah.
I do take a little solace that it was a Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, my heart was in the right place. I missed the irony of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was and I didn't get to keep the album. That's the other.
Did you go back
And
and
I
buy
remember
it
my
later?
dad's face.
Did you go back and buy
I
it?
remember my
later?
dad's face when he heard your son's shoplifted. What did he shoplift? You know, I think he's thinking power saw.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. And an album. You know, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Really? Are you serious? You know, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's not like you're shoplifting the Beatles' White Album or
right.
anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like, you know.
It's the fact.
But that was a big thing when we were.
It was a big
for a
thing.
while. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
But that was all part of that Jesus freak movement. Remember the Jesus freaks?
Yeah. The whole
You know,
Godson hair. I mean.
Oh
hair.
yeah. That, but and you know, I think a lot.
Turning Jesus into the ultimate hippie, in a sense,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because he
That's-
was a
that's-
hippie, really.
Yeah, that's exactly what
I
that
mean,
was.
long hair and walking around with a bunch of guys.
Well, and I
Can you
think
be-
you know, Don McLean makes reference to that
Right.
in
Yeah.
American Pie.
Yeah.
Jesus caught the last train for the coast because
Yes.
everything was happening on. He's referring to the West Coast.
Right.
Got to be referring to the West Coast.
They do that
And
now.
that's where- yeah.
If you look at Jesus Christ now, I know that he's like ripped, right? He's got like six-pack abs now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
they got this
man.
Jesus Christ as the, enforcer.
Has he got like a hipster beard too, or does he still have a beard, or he's got a hipster beard?
Yeah, you could take him right off the cross and put him into the MME,
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah.
So there's that element. It's like Jesus changes forms depending on the culture he's in, right?
Yeah.
He's the hippie in the 60s, and now he's a ripped, ready to kick
Yeah.
non-Christian ass
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I think he would be kind of a Gandhi-like character, wouldn't he?
Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say he's more of a Gandhi? He is a Gandhi kind of
He'd
people.
be Gandhi, Martin Luther
Yeah,
King, that
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. And he'd be, violently opposed today as he was then.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Jesus Christ Superstar. Crap, I haven't thought about that in a million years.
Yeah, I love that album.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah.
so that was my one moment of weakness, moment of crime, Michael.
It happens, man.
Was.
Oh, everybody shoplifts something, tries to
Did you ever
shoplift.
shoplift something
Yeah.
in your life? Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
It was a little toy gun from you remember we used to have 5 and dime stores, right?
Right.
Here in Dallas, they're called M.E. Moses. Little toy gun that was metal and had a plastic thing. And I still have it to this day. I've kept it this entire time.
Right.
Where you could pull the hammer back and.
So
and
you
kinda-
didn't get caught, obviously.
No. It was a small thing. I wasn't going to try and steal an album, Carl.
It's
I mean,
harder
come on.
to steal an
it's
album.
easy. You slip it
Especially
in
a
your pocket.
double album.
Yeah, and anyway, I keep it to this day to remind me of that. I've never gotten rid of it because of that, and that's the
Yeah.
one thing that
You
that
keep
I
it to
felt-
remind you that, hey, this is something I took that didn't belong
Yeah,
to
I
me.
went into the store and now we did have. Speaking of albums, we had a guy that was really good at stealing albums from. That's when you'd buy albums, you'd buy them at the. Drugstore. They had albums that a little
Right.
stand of and
Right.
not many albums at all. It's before the big album stores, like Peaches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we'd tell him, say, hey, Edgar, we'll give you X. We want this album. And he said, a couple of bucks. He'd go in and steal it. We'd give him a couple of bucks. And he made some money.
So it was a win-win, except for the store,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
This was the same guy that on Saturday would go up to the mall, to the arcade where all the pinball machines were. He'd
Yeah.
go up early, and he had figured out which one is the one everybody wanted to play.
Yeah.
And so he would get on that, got real good at it. He would run up the free games on it. You know how when it would pop, and that means you got a free game. Remember, you'd pump a quarter in for three. And he would run it up to where it was, 10 or 12 games.
And let all the other kids play it?
No. He sold it to you.
Sold it?
Oh, yeah.
An entrepreneur.
This guy was good.
He was good.
Yeah, he was real good. But, that was good. But, albums and stuff, it's, we got rid of all our albums. Did you sell your albums?
Yeah. I tried to, keep 4, I thought might be worth something.
Yeah.
I think I had a Wizard of Oz from 1940.
Let's see, I made the mistake of selling all my albums, including a full Beatle collection, including 2 that were Butcher Block covers.
Whoa,
and an
sold
original
the Butcher
white
Box
album.
cover?
All of them were original. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And I sold them all for $200, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it was a trunk load of stuff. But it's when we kept some.
Right.
But we should have kept others. But the thing is, it's kind of like then we're doing CDs.
Right.
We were buying CDs,
Right.
and the record stores were going out of business. And
You think about how many times you bought a certain album, like a Beatle album.
Yeah.
You bought it as a record, you bought it as a CD,
Yeah.
downloaded it.
Yeah.
They're getting all
Or now
sorts
you're
of
getting it
different
on Spotify for X number of dollars.
I don't do the Spotify thing.
No,
I haven't
but-
gone the rent the music route.
Yeah, but this is going to be a segue.
We have a segue?
Segue.
Yes.
Segue.
Right, good.
Into that article that you sent on Fast Company. How
About millennials.
millennials are
Aren't
not
buying.
buying stuff.
Yeah.
They don't buy albums. They don't even buy CDs.
They're renting.
They're renting.
Renting music.
Yes, and they're renting a lot of stuff.
Doing Uber instead of buying a car.
Yeah, a lot of us are doing that though. I mean, they grew up with it. We're kind of backing into it.
Yeah. I think there's business models to be made on the sharing economy.
Oh yeah.
It's stupid to buy a lawnmower. If you could somehow work that business out where it would
Yeah.
automatically
Yeah. Well, yeah.
shared somehow.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because I live in a neighborhood.
Right.
Most of the people in the neighborhood are older. They're my age. So if you mow your own lawn, you own a lawnmower. In fact, there are a lot of people that don't mow their own lawn, but they still own a lawnmower. And so the idea of being able to share those would be great. Now, here's the logistical headache of that. Okay, if you've got a bunch of tools like that you're going to share with, say, 5 people, because you can't share it with 20. You got to share it probably with a smaller number.
Right.
Because the larger the number, the more you get into a logistical thing.
That's where
who
that's
gets
where
what.
the service comes in. That's where the business
That's
comes
where
in.
the service comes.
They
somebody's
they organize it,
Somebody's
app
got to
it,
run that
whatever.
business.
Right.
And
They get a little piece.
They get a little piece, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're also in charge of upkeeping those
Yeah,
machines,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's not the right thing.
I think it's a good thing because what happens is we all wind up warehousing all this stuff that we don't use very often or at all because we think we keep it because we think we might need it at some point. They're
Right.
saying, do you have that? Do you have stuff that you keep
Right.
because you think you might need it? You're not using it now, but so it's an accumulation of stuff. And I think that's kind of the way we were raised. I think a big part of that actually keeping stuff because you might need it. That gets back to a Depression era thing that our parents did. Don't ever throw anything away.
So I actually am pretty good at getting rid of stuff because we've moved so many times.
Yeah.
You just don't want to carry the crap.
Yeah.
The hardest things I've had to get rid of are things that I have a whole box of cassette tapes, right? That
Yeah.
I remember,
Cassette tapes?
I know.
Cassette tapes?
I was big into mixing tapes for people, Michael.
Oh, were you really? Oh, okay.
So I was into that. So it's like getting rid of that. There's so much time and energy and money.
Do you still have a cassette player? You
I have
probably
one in my
Yeah, and a
my
recorder.
other car. The only
Yeah.
place I have a cassette player anymore is in our 2002 Avalon.
Wow.
No.
Are you still shoving tapes in there and stuff?
Not usually.
Not usually, yeah.
I don't usually drive it that much. It's our second car.
Yeah.
We don't really need that car, really.
Well, there you go. That's another thing right there. But I started thinking about this, and Perry drives for Uber, and we talked about that on the first threesome that we're going to download. But I got to thinking about that. Okay, there's a lot of people in our neighborhood that go down at one of the main roads and go into downtown the back way.
Right.
Why can't there be along that route a couple of things that are the equivalent of bus stops?
Right.
Where neighbors that are looking to hook a ride in can go over there and stand, and you can stand at different locations. Okay, I wanted to be dropped off on the east part of downtown,
Right.
central
That's
part of
what's gonna
downtown,
happen
west
with
part.
those, I think those non-driver cars.
Yeah, but that's so far down the road,
Well, maybe not. You see who? I just heard a rumor yesterday that Google's interested in buying Uber.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, which means all the Uber people that are now driving, if it gets driverless, they're out of business.
At some point, they will be.
Yeah, they will
That's
be.
the
Yeah.
network That's the network to create.
Well, they have to have a network like that
Yeah.
to create the driverless car and make it viable and make it work. Because if they wait for you to buy one and me to buy one, we're not going to do it. We have to have an experience with a driverless car that somebody else puts together.
Somebody will, right?
Yeah.
So here's a question for you on the millennials. So the article, just to recap for people,
Yeah.
and we'll post a link to it on our carlandmike.net, is that they're not buying. They're not that interested. Is it because? Do you think it's because the society's changing, technology is making it obsolete to buy, or because they're deep in college debt and they can't afford to buy, or is it just a new attitude for this particular generation?
Yes, yes, and yes.
So
And I'll
it's-
tell you
it's a
what.
con-
I
it's a-
think that from a technology standpoint, our phones are the portal that help us get to Uber, get to Airbnb, make that possible.
Yes.
Without that, if you have a little Princess rotary phone, you don't have access to that. It really gives you greater access to that than a home, a big box computer sitting down at your desk.
Right.
Because if you're out, if you're out away from that and you don't have a phone, you don't have access to Uber. You don't have ready access to Airbnb when you just popped into a town and you're looking for a place to stay. So I think that phone gives us access. The technology that's in that phone gives us
So
access.
what else might become Uberized? So Uber is taking away, but we've always had taxis. So I guess it's the app, it's the immediacy that Uber can deliver a vehicle, right?
Well, it's that, yeah. And what they've done in that is, as a corporation, and this is one of the things I really fucking hate about corporations, they've cost shifted. All the stuff that most corporations would have, the cost of the vehicles, the cost of the insurance for the vehicles,
Right.
the cost of insurance that they're paying for their employees, they've cost shifted that all back onto the back of the drivers, which is that's not a good
Right.
thing. It's working, but the people that are driving are losing out on that. And I read an article about Uber the other day that most of these drivers are using regular insurance. Okay, regular
Right.
insurance they get from State
I'm
Farm or
quite
Farmers or
surprised
something like that.
they got away with all this.
Well, if they get caught driving, they lose their insurance.
Oh, is that how that works?
And now, are you going to be insurable again? Maybe, but
why
at a
aren't they-
commercial
that's
rate.
the-
And
to
then
me,
you're
that's the
gonna have to
insurance
prove-
companies being slow to react to market.
Well, think of.
Why don't you create a
if-
special class?
if
Call it the Uber.
Well, they probably are starting to do that. But if ever there was a slow, cumbersome corporation, it would have to be insurance companies, wouldn't it? I mean, think about it.
Yeah. They're all behemoths. When you
So-
get really big, you start
Yeah.
to become slow.
So I think, what other things besides Uber? That's a real good question. I don't know. I mean, anything that has to do with sharing. But anyway, getting back to your question. So I think, yeah, technology is part of it. The other part of it, and I can just speak from the experience that I have with the 3 kids that I have, they're not into accumulation. And the article talked about that. They're more interested in experience
You're right.
than they are buying something. They don't have a need to own.
Right.
There's a need to own, and I don't know if that need to own.
So you're
was
saying that what kind of things aren't they accumulating? They're not making Costco runs, or I mean, what are you saying?
Well,
when you're a
I
kid?
mean, let's look at history, I guess. Okay, and I'm going to throw this out and pose it as a question. Was the whole idea of needing to own something brought about by not having something that you needed that was a result of the Depression? Okay.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden
So
you wanted
accumulation
to get
of goods gave you status in
it gave,
class.
it gave you status, it gave you class, it also gave you a false sense of security. You've got this stuff, you have this now, you know.
Right.
Okay. And now what we're doing is breaking away from that and getting back to the way it was. Because before the Depression, when people were on the farm, I
Right.
mean there were barn raises. The neighbors would get together, they'd put up a barn.
Right,
Okay.
right.
That was a sharing economy. Was that
Right,
not a
yeah,
sharing
absolutely.
economy? They probably I don't know this, but I would assume they shared food that they would grow. You didn't grow nothing but squash. I didn't grow nothing but tomatoes. We flip it back and forth.
Right.
You've got eggs. I don't have eggs. I make bread.
Yeah, but
you
we're
get
not
bread.
in a rural. I mean, they're not building brownstones together in Boston.
No, but that's city shit. That's city stuff.
Right. But
you
your
know,
3 kids live in the cities.
yeah, they
You
do.
say they have an attitude.
Well, but they live in the cities. But does that mean they're going to buy in the city? Buy a condo, buy a house, and right now I'd have to say no because they don't have the money.
I
Now,
think
is
that
it
makes a
because
big deal.
It
I
makes it, yeah. And
Having
I
a
think,
college bill.
but I think they will have the money. But even once they get it, are they going to want to do that? Are they going to want that responsibility for that? And I don't know the answer. I think all 3 of them are more than capable of owning their own house and dealing with it.
Right.
You know, that's not the issue. But are they're gonna look at it and think, well, there's a better way to do this.
Maybe do some co-housing. I'm surprised co-housing has never really caught on.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of a. I am too, and that's
Where
kind
you
of.
had like a shared kitchen and everybody else had their own houses.
Well, you know,
and-
they're
and
trying to
kinda
do that
center.
one over close to where we live, and it was 17 lots. Nita and I went to a presentation about it. It was a co-housing deal. There's 17 lots, 17 families would be in there,
Right.
but then there was a common building.
Right.
And that common building had a big hall where they would get together and have communal dinners. Now, see, we get into communal thing, you start to think, oh, geez, communist, socialist kind of bullshit. Or it
Right.
gets back to, really what that is kind of a refined hippie commune,
Right.
for lack of a better word.
Middle class hippie.
And yeah, and so and what they would have upstairs is they would have extra bedrooms. So in other words, you and I don't have to have a 3-bedroom house. We just have to have a 2-bedroom house. And the second bedroom we use as an office. Okay, and when kids are in from out of town, they can stay. We can book those rooms above, and they're available. Okay, and they're right there on the light. But they've only sold 4 of them, and it's been going on for 4 or 5 years, and it you know.
I do think you're going to see, I mean, the need for high rises per se, building, you know, with people working from home more and more,
Yeah.
the ability through
Yeah.
technology to be distant. And I mean, there's companies that are scattered, all the principals are scattered across the country and they don't even meet. Maybe they meet once a year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. I think that will affect, just like the internet's affected the death of shopping malls, I do think
Yeah.
the need for, you know, housing employees in this giant office building is going to change.
Well, Zoe works for Dell in Austin.
Right.
They are required 2 days a week. Hers are Tuesday and Thursdays to work out of the house.
Required to work out.
Required
the
to
house.
work out of the house.
So you cannot be
And-
here.
Yeah. Now,
What is that? Why does that do
think
that?
about
It saves space.
Well, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, that's if everybody's required to work that, does that mean you save 30 to 40% of the bricks and mortar space that you actually need to house people? If they're sharing offices and stuff like that, I don't know how deep it goes like that, but if there are communal office spaces that you just go in and plug in, yeah, there's even less. So if 2 days are working, at some point somebody's going to go, well, let's try 3. Let's
Yeah.
try 4. Let's try 5.
Instead of building another building,
That's a cost shifting thing. But what they're doing is they pay for her high speed modem
Right.
and everything else. It's still cheaper for them to do that
Sure.
than to build some space out in a building.
Yeah. So right away, if they've got every employee doing 2 days a week, so that's out of 5 days. That's
well, and she likes it because she's a lot more efficient. She's said on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, which I think
she finds herself more efficient working wise.
Yeah,
she gets
but
more done
think
on
about
Tuesdays
it.
and
If you're at
Thursdays.
work
Yeah, people,
and you're in a cube farm,
right?
And you got people popping up over the prairie called prairie dogging at the cube farm,
Right.
popping up and going, "Hey, Michael, what's going on?" Or they'll poke their head around.
Did you hear about the latest gossip? Right.
Yeah, the latest gossip, and a good example of that is that movie Office.
Right.
That's a great, but that kind of shit's going on all the time. And so if you eliminate that, and you just focus on what's in front of you, yeah, you get a lot more done. So I think there's some real value there in that. There's a lot of trends that are like that, but again, a lot of that is cost shifting.
Right.
It's cost shifting, and so I think corporations, as they get into this, are going to learn to do more and more of that kind of cost shifting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Because if they aren't buying the homes and the cars, I mean, those are two big expenses. That changes the landscape quite a bit.
Yeah.
It changes industries.
Yeah.
And I have speaking of a segue.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some predictions here. I thought I would bounce off of you
Okay.
from Ray Kurzweil. Now, for those who don't know Ray Kurzweil,
And that would be me.
let me tell you a little bit about him. 20 honorary degrees, been awarded honors from 3 presidents, has written 7 books. He invented the flatbed scanner, the first print-to-speech reading machine for the blind, the synthesizer, Kurzweil.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay,
Synthesizer.
that guy. His name's on it.
Right.
Yeah.
His name's on it. Was chosen by Google to direct their artificial intelligence development. Bill Gates says calls him the best person I know at predicting the future. And he's made some pretty amazing predictions. He predicted, in 1990, he predicted computers would defeat a world chess champion by 98. That happened in 97. In 1990, he predicted PCs would be capable of answering queries by accessing information wirelessly via the internet by 2010.
Well, that happened way before that.
He predicted by the early 2000s, exoskeletal limbs would allow disabled to walk.
Yep.
He predicted people would be able to talk to their computers to give commands by 2009. And that is now happening. This actually is a little off there because Google just announced, there's new apps now that will do, you put in the words and they'll give you back the foreign language exactly. So
Oh, really?
that's happened.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And he predicted by 2010, virtual solutions would be able to perform real-time language translation. And that happened
Wow.
just a couple years ago. So he's pretty good track record. So here's what he says about the next 25 years. I thought I'd bounce those off to you because
Okay.
I know that you're not as, how should I say, you're more cautious. You're in the cautious camp.
Not quite a
technology.
Luddite, but close.
Not a Luddite, yes. All right, so he says by the late 2010, so this is in a couple of years, glasses will beam images directly onto
No,
the retina.
this is 2015. He's saying late by what?
Late 2010s.
Yeah.
So we're talking
okay.
18,
All right.
19.
Oh, 10s. Okay.
Glasses will beam images directly onto the retina, and 10 terabytes of computing power will cost about $1,000. So right now you can get a terabyte for about $1,000.
That's going to be.
2020s. By the 2020s,
Well, the glasses is already here, right? I mean,
Well,
that Google
that's
glass-
not beaming it onto your retina. If it beams onto your retina, then you've got a 90-foot screen in front of you.
I don't want something beaming onto my retina.
Huh? What?
No,
you
you
don't
keep-
want to have a computer. You have to lug
Yeah,
around
but
a
do you
computer
want
screen. It's like a
something
laptop.
beaming into your retina. You keep your phone in your lap
It's
right
like
now.
virtual
you're gonna
reality.
Get nut
It'd be like
cancer.
virtual reality. Retina cancer? Well, then
Yeah.
they'll remove the eye. It'll be bionic, kind of.
Oh, jeez, God.
You're like this next one. By 2020s, most diseases will go away as nanobots will become smarter than current medical technology.
No, I think that medicines developed specifically for an individual, that's huge, and
Yes.
that's coming. You know,
Yeah.
that's. In fact, there was a deal. Did you see the thing about the couple in England? Well, what they're doing is they just passed a law in England to allow you to have an embryo that is a makeup of 3 different individuals. So
No.
let's say you've got a hiccup in you that's going to be passed on for whatever kid you've got.
I don't want to have that little
I don't want to
gene.
have that. So what they do is they go in and get some of your DNA that's okay. They pull that out. They put it into somebody. They use somebody else, some other male part
All right.
that will not pass on any genetic.
So you're going to custom-made humans.
Yeah. There
you go.
Yeah. And England's the first one that did test tube babies. And nobody, and remember all the bullshit
Right.
about that test
Yes,
tube babies.
I
Oh my
know,
God,
I
we're
know.
gonna, and that's just common
Practice
deal
now,
now.
especially
Yeah.
for couples that can't
Oh, yeah.
conceive. The Turing test in the 2020s. Turing test. You know what the Turing test is, right?
What?
Did you see Imitation Game?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got to see that
I
movie.
know.
Great movie.
Yeah.
About Turing. There's a bunch of stuff that was held secret for 50 years that just came out that made the Imitation Game happen as a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's
Turing
that?
was unbelievable what he did. I don't want to ruin the movie for you. But go see the Imitation Game. Anyway, a Turing test is where you cannot tell the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So if you were talking to somebody like a computer, you wouldn't know that was a computer. In other words, you couldn't distinguish the difference, no matter what you tried to say.
And that's
so
going to be
20s, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars will start to take over the nation's roads. In
Well,
2020s.
Google buys Uber. Yeah,
Yep.
that's going to happen.
And here's the interesting: people won't be allowed to drive on highways
Why? Because
the highways will be all self-driving, and it'll be. I mean, you'll be like inches away. It'll look like. If you ever seen a model where they have
Yeah.
it looks like they're barely going to hit each other, but they just miss by inches, right?
Yeah.
So that would really cut traffic channels.
Well, that's
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening.
There's certain
too,
roads be
because all
designated
that's,
self-driving
say, an
only.
interstate between here and Houston,
Yeah.
or the main part of it, or a big section
so
of it.
it's going
that's just-
110.
Yeah.
And 2 inches away from each other.
Yeah.
And that's why a human couldn't be on there.
I can see that happening.
I don't know how you enforce that if somebody wants to just be a.
Well, what they're going to do, they'll ease into it.
Right.
You know, the center lanes will be for that kind of traffic.
All right.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening.
So that's the 2020s. Diseases go away, self-driving cars, Turing tests. 2030s, virtual reality will begin to feel 100% real, and we'll be able to upload our mind and or consciousness before 2040.
Wow.
Upload your brain. There was that Johnny Depp movie. It didn't do well, but that was based on that kind of idea.
I started watching that.
It was a
peeled
bad
off,
movie,
and that was a
yeah.
bad movie.
In the 2040s, Ray says that non-biological intelligence will be 1 billion times more capable than biological intelligence.
He's talking about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh,
1 billion times more capable.
Well, is the internet not 1 billion times more capable than we are now? Just the internet itself?
Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah, and that's just I view the internet as just a bunch of file cabinets that we can access through our portals.
Right. Here's the most wildest one I thought. He says that nanotech foglets, I don't even know what the hell that is, will be able to make food out of thin air and any object in the physical world at a whim. 2040s.
We call it foglets, so it's like
Nanotech
fog.
foglets. I don't know what a foglet is. I'll have to look
Well,
that up.
it's probably a swarm of nanotech things that can
Can you
then
just be able to
pull together.
create a physical object out of thin air?
Yeah, because they're programmed. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
They're programmed to they're dispersed as a fog. Now I don't know if that's what this is or not,
But think about
but
it,
they're
if you could-
programmed to like kind of swarm, and then as they swarm together, as they get together, they make this microphone.
But if
they
you
make this.
All right, if you could create that out of thin air, almost anything you want it, think about what that would do from a society standpoint, economic standpoint. I mean, really
Now-
amazing changes. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll save the best for last. 2045, humans will multiply their intelligence 1 billion-fold by linking wirelessly from their neocortex to a synthetic neocortex in the cloud.
Yikes.
So that's kind of what was that? There was a sci-fi movie on that
I don't
where
know.
you were plugged into the hole.
Plugged into the whole Matrix.
No, I can't remember now. It wasn't a good thing. It was
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
one brain kind of thing. Anyway, so those are his predictions. Now, this isn't like some just kind of guy who doesn't get things right.
Well,
What do you think about that?
I think it's kind of creepy and exciting all at the same time.
It
I mean,
is.
The thing that I like about it is the foglets, because I'm going, are these things going to reconstitute as an inanimate object, or are they going to reconstitute as Carl? In other words, can I somehow figure out how to program you into a fog? In other words, take everything that is you right now,
Right.
your beard, your fingernails, and everything, and have foglets. And each one of those little foglet things, particles,
Right.
is either a fingernail or your beard. And then say, okay,
Reconstitute
this is
it.
and no. First off, I've got to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to make that copy and put it over here, okay.
I
And
don't
then
think
and
you'd
then
be able
what
to
I
do it.
then what I'm going to say is blow it apart, and it blows apart, and it's got this little vapor. It's like this vapor cloud, and you tell the vapor cloud to go over here, and when you get to this position, pull back together. Now, the question is that just going to be a statue of you over there, or is that going to be you doing?
Well, I don't
shit?
think it'd be you because I think you'd be too complex, at least for 2040.
I don't
Right?
know.
I think it would be much easier to do a briefcase.
Yeah, I
right?
don't know.
There's not that much to it. But to do something like a human being,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Now, if you can upload consciousness, you can upload everything that's in your brain. So that'd be all your memories, the whole shabeel.
Sure, why not?
How much of you is missing from that?
Huh?
How much of you is missing from that?
I don't know.
We don't know, do we?
No.
That'll be some of the
Now,
mysteries.
and then the thing is, if you're able to reconstitute you, Carl,
Right.
over here, exactly like you are now with all the memories and everything like that, is it that hard a deal to reconstitute Carl over here with my memories? You don't have your memories; you got my memories.
But I'm looking
Can
like
I-
you, but your memory.
Yeah.
So you could share that almost. You could
Yeah.
share the experience of being the other person.
Yeah,
That'd be wild.
yeah. I
If
think
it's uploaded, yeah. If it's uploaded, it's accessible, right?
Well, I think
you upload a music and then you download
yeah,
the
I
music.
think
It's a carbon copy.
anything that you can think of like this. Well, first off, you have to have a concept of that kind of thing happening, and then once you get that concept of that kind of thing happening, you have to you do a step by step to get there.
Well, he uses.
And I think that's
he uses exponential model, and he says when things become digital, okay, it becomes X's and O's. That
Yeah.
you can. There's a clear pattern that happens.
well, it's
right?
like what is that term? That memory's going to double
Right,
every.
right. That's his
whatever it is.
exponential curve.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how he bases a
That's
lot of
his curve. That's
yeah,
he's the one that
he
did
developed, and it's shown to be the truth. So in
Yeah.
other words, this iPhone here has more power than the world's largest computer did 25 years ago, and that this iPhone currently will be able to be the size of a human cell
Yeah.
in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Which is where he talks about those nanobots wiping out disease and stuff. Because if you've got a cell with the computing power
Yeah.
of a iPhone, okay, then you can go into the body and tell
Yeah.
the body to clear this clear this.
I really don't have a
clogs.
problem with any of those thinking that those are going to happen, because if you think about it, think about your phone.
Right.
Well, you've got a 5. Let's use mine because it's an older one, a 4S, or let's use the first iPhone, the 2.
Right,
Okay.
right.
There's more computing power in that thing than there was than what was on board the Apollos that went to the moon.
Right, absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. So it's
And
already
so-
we can see the evidence of that curve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, on an exponential curve, that's why the climate people are so whacked out. Is it curves on exponentially? It's dramatic. Each
Yeah.
jump is not
Yeah.
1 becomes 2. Okay, then 2 becomes 4. 4 becomes 8. It's
Yeah.
It's big
So
jumps.
what you're saying is this exponential curve it could apply to
Right.
the
Where-
economy.
yeah.
I
But
mean the
it
environment.
took 50 years to get to the computing power
Yeah.
of an iPhone,
Yeah.
right, or whatever.
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to take 5 years to double that. In other words, it really the process speeds up, and we see that happening in everything, and from adoptions of televisions to the adoption of the internet to what.
Well,
have
just
you.
think how quickly things like Uber are adopted now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not that old a company, and all of a
Right.
sudden it's worth billions, and you got people like Google, right, looking at buying it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that right there is an incredible thing. I thought, and would not then Amazon be interested in buying?
Lyft or whatever it's called.
Well, yeah, or something.
competitor
But
of Uber.
well, but kind of, a competitor. But
I think you're going to have these big companies that run big things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you already do.
So I think these driverless cars could be delivery vehicles too. So all of a sudden,
Yeah, sure.
The whole idea of FedEx is that doesn't make much sense because you got this swarm of these things running around anyway. You just drop some boxes in a few of these things and they'll load off and they go. And sometimes they're taking people downtown, and some people are dropping off boxes.
So my question on this whole equation, because it seems like anytime this technology advances, it not only changes industries, but it wipes out a lot of jobs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But then it makes jobs too, right? The Uber
but
thing
it's
made
not-
jobs
it's not- I don't
only
think-
temporarily, and then they'll wipe them out.
I don't think it's making them at the same speed that it's destroying them.
So
And
what
that's kind of
what
the
does
problem.
humans do in that world?
Well,
or is it just creating little businesses and stuff and curating information from the everything's become informationized right now, right? So
I think this whole process of this, and this is another article I read, is helping create this wealth gap. Because the people at the top are the ones that own the driverless cars.
Right.
They're the ones that own all these products that your guy was talking
Right.
about. And the ones at the bottom don't.
but maybe everything moves that direction. Not just so definitely there's the 1% wealth gap, but
Yeah.
but there's only 3, 4 or 5 computer companies. There's only
but
in every industry there's only a few. There's only a couple that do almost everything.
Yeah, well, just take Uber for instance, and this is an article that I also read about Lyft. I think Lyft. I don't know if it's Uber or Lyft. I think it maybe is Lyft. Lyft is coming in after Uber, and they're trying to do something. And so what they were doing is they were opening offices, corporate offices in all these cities to help train their drivers. Now what they're doing is, and that created jobs locally.
Right,
now what
right.
they're doing is they're closing those offices because what they're doing is they're saying, okay, Michael, you want to be a Lyft driver, and you get online and you say I'm a new Lyft driver, and a new Lyft guy, an existing Lyft driver comes along and he trains you. He gets paid for that, but he's training you. So all of a sudden, they don't need that bricks and mortar stuff. They don't need the staff that's in that. The staff that's in there is not going to be eating in the restaurants around it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So all of a sudden, it's starting to do that, and I think Uber is definitely has affected the amount of money people make on taxes and can make. Now, it's got more people driving, but more people are driving are making less money. And I don't think those drivers are going to continue. It's not a career kind of a job.
No.
It's just not. And so there's very few of those career positions within that corporation, and they're not driving.
But maybe there's a natural flow to it all. So
I don't know.
So a new industry comes up like an Uber, and in the beginning it hires a bunch of people. It upsets the status quo thing, all right? And then it gets kind of absorbed, and the status quo becomes part of the 1%. And then something new comes along to challenge that, and and the cycle doesn't last very long, 3 or 4 years. But there's times where a lot of people get hired, and then it changes, and maybe that's just, in other words, we don't know what the jobs of tomorrow are going to be. It looks like from this perspective, God, you wipe this out, you can make food out of nothing, out of the thin air.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, you wiped out world hunger, but you wiped out a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
So we can't see what would be happening. Would there not be other jobs created somewhere
Well,
else?
they
that we
say
don't even
there's
know?
other jobs, but I'm talking about the quality of those jobs.
Right.
I'm talking, do those jobs pay a livable wage, or do those jobs at 40 hours a week really require that you take on another job or downgrade the way you live, which gets back to, if you downgrade the way you live and you start getting used to that, you don't buy cars, you don't buy houses, you don't buy a lot of the stuff that we've all bought in the past because you have lower expectations.
So that
you have
ultimately
lower
harms-
expectations of ownership.
Right.
And so you think about what it's done,
But we know that
what
from,
technology has done in the music industry. Think about what that's done. We don't have record stores anymore.
Right.
You know, they don't. I mean, they do, but they're really kind of boutique kind of things. Not like they used to be. You're not buying CDs or tapes or anything like I used to do. We don't do that.
Yeah,
we don't
you're
warehouse it. And if we're
$10
not,
a month,
and
that's
if
what
we're
you-
not
if you're on
buying that
Spotify.
stuff, we're also not buying the players and the speakers.
Right.
And any of that kind of shit. So what we're doing is we've got Spotify.
But now we're
and
playing,
listen-
instead of listening to music, music's become a commodity, kind of like electricity.
Yeah.
So now instead of all our money going into that, it's going into video games. And from there to go into virtual. In other words, the
but the
entertainment
video-
form has changed. It doesn't mean like you're looking at it like, okay, music got wiped out, all these jobs got wiped out, but there's all these jobs now for app developers that are there. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it changes. So we don't buy music anymore.
Yeah.
We buy apps.
Yeah.
And at some point we won't buy apps. We'll buy virtual reality. At some point we won't buy virtual reality. We'll buy nanobots. You know what I mean?
But I think it's other industries are coming, but I think as other industries develop, they learn lessons of doing it for less from the previous ones.
I agree. I agree. All of that happens, and
Yeah.
new things are born all the time. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If what you
But
say
the
is
population's increasing.
right. If what you say is we're on a long, slow decline and increased wage gap, so far that's what it looks like.
Yes.
And we know that there's a point in society where that gets too dramatic, and you could argue 80 guys owning as much wealth as half the world. We're at that stage.
And if that's not dramatic enough, wait for the next 5 years.
At
Just
some point, that
ridiculous.
society, the masses will fight that and break that system. Looking at history, sooner or later,
I think
if the king gets too greedy or too ruthless,
Yeah.
the people are going to overthrow
king,
the king.
meaning the people at the top, the 1%, and because we don't have individual king. Well, you could say that people that are the top 80,
Right.
And
Come on, 80 people owning half the world's
Yeah.
wealth.
yeah,
That's insane.
Well, and a big part of those people that have got the wealth, it's interesting because they're several of them are within the phone industry. Okay. Okay. So, and that's the portals.
Right.
There's people that are developing this software. There's another one because I thought, okay, I Googled, said, who are these 80 people?
Right.
There's multiple sites for these people.
They're
And
oil-
we need to put some on there. Well, they call them extractions. People that make their livelihoods from extractions. Okay, so there are people that
extractions
are
of finite resources in the world.
of finite resources that I would say, and you can call me a communist if you want to, but I'd say the finite resources that live on, that are part of the rock that we all live on,
Yes.
belong to everybody. Belong to you, belong to me, and none of us should overuse those resources. Yet all of us are overusing those resources to the point where we're using it up. We're doing that with oil right now.
Right.
We'll probably live to see in our lifetime where it's gone.
But if
Or-
we're
for the
creating
most
things
part.
out of thin air, or we're creating 3D printing and shit like that, the ability to create things, I don't know, will that use resources
Well,
the
and
same? Will we use resources the same way?
The 3D printing is great, and it's got some really incredible applications.
Right.
The medical applications,
Yeah.
the surgical applications,
Creating hearts and lungs
and
and
and that kind of stuff is incredible. But being able for all of us to own our own 3D printer so we can create our own little cup that we can drink out of is just asinine. It's absolutely asinine to me, and we're using resources to do that. And I think that's one of those kind of things that it's just because we can
Right.
do something doesn't mean it's a good idea.
So what do you suggest? I mean, what are you suggesting? Okay, these 80 people own half the world's wealth. So
At some point, people are going to start sharpening up the guillotines. There's going to be
That's
some.
what-
There's going to be some shit hit the fan.
what do you think the solution is to avoid that?
Huh? I don't think there is one. I think it's just a natural. It's a natural thing that,
Well,
that you get into
why
every
wouldn't the
so often.
guillotines already be sharpened? If
Huh?
You got 80 people owning half the world's wealth. Why wouldn't the guillotines
Well, I
already
think
be sharpened?
I think because
You can
and
have individuals wealthier than countries.
We've talked about this before. I think there are a lot of people that have given over, sold their own personal responsibility to make things easier for themselves. And in doing that, we're kind of contributing to it.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you. I think a lot of this wealth is because a company has the ability. Look at Apple, the most wealthy company. They own. They have 130 billion in the bank. 130 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
Apple and companies like that have the ability. Their market is not the United States anymore.
Yeah.
The market is the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So iPad sales could be flat in the United States and booming in China.
Yeah.
So I think these 1%. I mean, even the oil guys are selling oil to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's being created because the market is the planet, as opposed to a local area or a state or a country.
I think it absolutely is.
So it isn't so much.
But the market being the planet also speeds up the process of the depletion of it. And a good example right now is India and China coming online.
Right.
They all want to live like we do. We
Right.
made the mistake of living the way we do and used up so much. I mean, we're a smaller percentage of the planet, yet we use more of the natural resources. Now, let's say China starts doing that and India starts doing that. How long is it going to take it to go away? Not very long.
Right. And I'm saying, is there not a possibility that through advancement in technology that it will be done in a way that doesn't use all the resources?
Yeah, well, there's always a possibility of that.
In other words, if we're switching from oil to solar, okay, so solar has a lot more, let's say, expands and has a lot more capabilities. That changes that.
Well, yeah,
You can't take
think
the sun. you
Yeah,
know.
I think the idea of sun and of solar and wind power makes total sense. Those resources, which is the sun and
Which
the
is
wind,
plentiful.
which will be around ad infinitum. Okay, that's a real
Could be stronger wind
That's a
with
real
climate
good
change.
idea. But who's fighting it?
Right. But that always.
And why are they fighting? Well,
they always fight.
Well, they're fighting
They
it
fought
because
Napster, and then it
they're
changed. You
fighting
know what
it.
I mean?
They're fighting it because of greed.
Right. And they're fighting it because they're fighting it because they built this whole big thing, and they're making a lot of moolah on it.
Yeah.
So they don't want to.
And greed is
But
a
the
stronger,
companies,
is
the
stronger
companies that
feeling,
adapt
huh?
will be the ones that survive, right? They're always fighting it. They were fighting.
Yeah.
I'm sure when cars came along, there was fights between horse carriage companies.
Oh, sure.
you know.
Oh, absolutely. We don't want these stinking things on the road.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And
And they were stinky, so you could say it
yeah,
was a negligent.
well, horse shit doesn't smell good either, but
No.
they've gotten used to that.
In other words, I guess what I'm saying is, if you only look at one side of it, then it looks like all is bleak. But there's this other thing that's happening on the other side. Now, does it balance out? I don't know.
Well, see, that's why I'm afraid that everybody gets my concern is that everybody gets so enamored with all these new cool gadgets
Right.
that they're not looking at what's being left in its draft. And there's a lot that's being left in its draft. And you know, there are people that don't have the jobs that they used to have.
Right.
There's people that don't have, which means they don't have a way of living the way they used to. And here's another good example right here. This is a statistic that I read this morning. The people in the upper income levels, their children are who used to go at 10 years. I think it was 10 years ago that were going to school at a rate of graduating from college at a rate of 44%. They're now graduating at a rate of 77%. The people in the lower incomes have gone from 30, I forget what it is. It's a real small percentage. Let's say, I think it was 34%. They've gone up to 37%. So look at the proportional difference. And a lot of that has to do with money.
Right.
And it has to do with the money that they have to do that.
Right.
Or don't have that. You know, I don't know. I don't know what
I think at some point, I think at some point a problem gets so bad, you know, that it forces a major fix to the thing.
Yeah. But how bad? I guess the question
How
is
bad
how
is
bad
that?
is it? How bad is it going to
Well,
get?
I think we've seen. I think. I don't.
How bad does it have to get before people get together, put aside their own wants and greeds and stuff like that to fix it? You know.
I think it. I think it just constantly evolves, and there's a catch up, and there's a point. I mean, there's a back and forth that happens, and
Yeah.
is the world, you know, at the bottom line, it comes down to the question: is the world a better place than it was previously?
In some respects, I'd say yeah. In other respects, I'd say no. Okay, here.
But
Okay,
there's more
here's a good
people. I would
example.
argue more people right now on the planet in middle class than there ever has been
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. But-
Okay.
okay, here's a good
So
example.
you can go and say, hey, yeah, look at all these 37%.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When they were all on the farms and living
Yeah.
Mississippian kind of
Yeah.
lives, it was really
Yeah.
off the charts bad.
Yeah. Do you, for instance, okay, just on information, ability to disseminate and absorb information. Do we think, okay, because we talked about it earlier, do you think the people in the Catholic faith are better off now because they know about all the stuff that's going on with the priests over the number of years? And before they didn't know that because they didn't have a way of getting that information or it was hidden.
Right.
And so they didn't have that fear. They didn't have that concern. I would say you can make it. It's great that that's all out. I love that. I love the fact that it's out. But that creates a certain level of anxiety within the people that are now got it. Okay, another good example.
So you're
is-
saying is the church better or worse because of this? I'd say better for sure.
Yeah.
It was happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was rotting from within.
Okay.
You know, you put
Yeah.
it out into the light. Not only do you get that
Yeah.
behavior potentially stopped,
Yeah.
but what comes out of this church could be,
Yeah.
you know, say, Pope
okay,
Francis.
and that's just Pope
comes out of that.
Francis. Let's say, are people better off seeing the videos of people being beheaded and burned to death? Or are they better off not seeing that? Okay, probably I'd say better off not seeing it, not having those mental
I
images.
watched that video.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, and-
I watched part of it.
yeah. Who's even
Fox
showing?
News.
No, of course. Anyway, so but doesn't that create that much anxiety and anger and gets everybody that much more pissed off? Not saying
think
that it's
people
not
need to be
just
pissed off
oh,
at this.
absolutely, they need to be pissed
I
off.
think
but
I think actually I'm going to argue that kind of should see that. I
should
don't
see
know.
it. Okay.
To say, hey, this is what we're dealing with
Yeah.
there. There's a barbarism there that's just
Yeah.
out of. I mean,
Oh,
way out of
well,
control.
and I think if okay, and I'll say okay, I agree with you. If everybody saw that, everybody saw it. You don't get a choice between looking at
prime
it or
time,
not
no.
looking at it. You have to look at it,
Right.
and then you have to process that image and what those people are doing on your own. How long do you think it's going to be before we have troops on the grounds over there? Not long.
No,
and
that's
it's
true.
and it's
so you're
and-
saying showing of the images rallies the troops.
Absolutely. And is that not a reason? It could be a reason for doing it, could be a reason for not doing it. But the choice to show it or not is in the hands of very few people.
I get it, but let me throw
Very
an
few people.
analogy out to you.
Okay.
And I'm not. I guess it's going to sound like I am, and maybe I am. I don't know. I'm torn on the need for war or whatever. Or I get the whole industrial complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of me is Rand Paul-like and
Yeah.
get out of there. And the other part of me goes, okay, so if it was in a human body,
Yeah.
you have a cancer cell,
Yeah.
and I look at this as a cancer cell in the planet right now. Okay, anybody near that, they're going to kill
Yeah.
because they have this
Yeah.
certain way of living, and nobody's living that way
Yeah.
but them. So
Yeah.
you got a cancer. So you leave it alone, that cancer's going to spread.
Yeah.
And if you left this alone, it's going to spread.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do? The Iraq thing was a whole different thing because you could say the Iraq thing was maybe it was inherently a cancer cell, but it wasn't mutating. It wasn't, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when it tried to on Kuwait, we went and knocked it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
It was contained.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
had no
so
reason
that-
to go
yeah.
in Iraq. That's just stirring up. But with ISIS, you've got an active cancer cell
Yeah.
in the human
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Okay, and it is out to destroy whatever it can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to take it out. You've got the
No,
immune.
I-
the immunity
yeah.
system is the soldiers.
That's their neighborhood.
I
It's
get
not
that.
our neighborhood. And the only reason we're over there is because of oil, and everybody talks about that. Well, nobody really talks about it like that, but everybody knows what the deal is. Let's just be real honest. The reason that the world is over there is because they got something that we need. We're needing it less and less as we become more energy independent. And then at that point, they can, whatever fucking happens over there happens.
In a sense that you could argue then that George Bush won when Saddam went into Kuwait. The world kind of rallied around and said, you ain't going to do that, and kicked him out.
George,
right?
that old man.
Right, the old man.
Yeah.
So that is, in a sense, a model of what should happen. That the world kind of gets together, and it's not Iraq versus Iran, it's Iraq versus the
But,
world. So when somebody goes to do that, that's when movement happens.
But the difference is on this, you can't leave them alive at the end of it. There can't be any remnant of it left. It has to be removed.
You don't think
the
Saddam
cancer
was
has
not
to be cut
contained?
out? Huh?
Saddam was not contained.
He was contained, but look what he was doing.
Yeah,
he was
he killed a
gassing
bunch
his
of-
own
yeah,
people.
yeah,
If they'd marched on in and killed him, I don't know what would have
There was
happened.
some mass killing.
But you got away. You got away. You know, they
The
got away.
argument there is with that Sunni Shiite tribe, there's two.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
they're
At
gonna
some
do what
point, they're going to.
It's
They're
the
going to.
Hatfields and McCoys.
At some point, the Hatfields and McCoys are going to have to duke it out, and whoever's left, we deal with them. But it's not our fight; it's their fight.
Right.
The only
The problem that happened with ISIS was nobody could fight them but us. It seems.
well, nobody wanted to fight them.
You think they could have?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's true. Why doesn't Saudi Arabia put a big old ass army
every time
together?
I hear these Arab guys going, we need American leadership, I go, fuck you. Seriously.
So they should. You're
Fuck
saying
you.
ISIS could be taken out if there was a will in the Arab world that would not need
there'd
us
have
or
to
not
be.
eat,
Yeah.
not eat our airplanes and then all that shit.
Yeah. I don't know if
You can give
they
them
need to find.
intelligence.
They need to find out. Are you able to? Are you able to really take care of your own people and rule your own world without us? If you are, if you say you are, do it. Don't keep
Well, they
asking
didn't.
us.
We kind of let it go. Don't you think Obama kind of said in the beginning, we're not. Well, let's see
Well,
what
that's what
ISIS
I
can
would-
do.
I would-
And ISIS moved pretty quickly
I
through
would
Syria,
like-
through Iraq.
yeah.
I mean, it was
Well,
pretty quick.
And the people over there they're going,
Nobody-
whoa.
yeah.
But you know,
What was Jordan doing? What
do-
was Turkey doing?
Have
What
they
was
not?
Saudi
Have they
Arabia
not
doing?
bought weapons and armaments from us?
Yeah,
Do they
sure.
not have armies?
They do.
Okay, well let's ramp it up.
Yeah, and that didn't happen.
No,
But they didn't go there. ISIS could have gone.
I don't know.
Maybe you need. So you're arguing then ISIS needs to spread as far as it's going to spread until these guys.
No, I don't think it needs to spread any further.
Well, what
It
if
needs to-
so nobody fights them? What do we do? It spreads like crazy. So let's say keep it going.
you stay out
ISIS
of it.
took care of Baghdad. We didn't start any air campaign against them.
Yeah.
They went off and
Yeah.
they went into Baghdad
Yeah.
and started to take that shit over and now they're spread. How long do you let it spread before you say, okay, we got to go in there?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah.
I just I don't know the answer. I don't know.
Nobody has all the answers, but
No.
we sure had.
Man,
plenty
we've
of-
covered some bases today.
Today, yes.
Yeah.
Number 20 with teachers, future. This is
Answers, questions,
lots of questions. Probably more questions than
then
answers.
answers. Yeah.
But we tried.
Yep.
Sounds like we're wrapping this one up.
Yep.
Want to shout out to our good friends at the Loot Trading Company and
Yes.
Bug Kitchen, by the way,
Yeah.
responded back to us.
Oh, did
on
they really?
Twitter, yeah.
Cool.
And check us out at carlandmike.net. If you're on iTunes, please subscribe and download. You can go to Podjocks, PODJOCKS.com, and that'll take you to iTunes
Yep.
and Stitcher, and we're everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere you want it. Now on Instagram. Look for Carl and
Yes.
Mike on Instagram.
Yep.
Pinterest.
Yep.
Peace.
All right. Out.